Welcome everyone to our unique webinar. My name is David. I'm from the TAU International Marketing team. In a moment, I'll give you a brief overview of Tel Aviv University. I'd like to introduce you to our panel of speakers and run in order for today. First, we have Professor Colin Price, the head of the Environmental Studies Department at the Porter School of the Environment and Earth Sciences. In a few minutes, Professor Price will deliver the main keynote lecture, What Can the Rapid Onset of Corona Teach Us About the Ongoing Climate Crisis? Then we'll have a presentation from Professor Yehuda Benayahu, the head of the M.A. Environmental Studies program. He's also joined by a collection of alumni and students who are here to share their experiences of TAU. At the end, we'll have a Q&A session covering the MA program, and that's when you're welcome to send in your questions via the chat or the Q&A function. So let's get started at TAU at a glance. Some interesting facts and figures here for you. We have 30,000 total students, 2,000 plus international students, 200,000 alumni. We have 125 schools and departments across 9 faculties. We have a very diverse campus of students from all over the world, and that gives us a unique perspective to discussion and learning. Typically, about 40% of our international students are from the United States, and the rest are from Latin America, Asia, Australia, Europe, and also the international community here in Israel. Here at TAU International, we offer a full academic path. We have thousands of talented students that come to us to study in English across all academic levels, from a semester, summer, or year abroad, to bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees. Our programs are designed to empower our student body to grow academically, socially, and personally. I'm not going to cover all of these, but it's important to emphasize that here at TAU, we have very strong links to industry. We have an entrepreneurship and innovation center run by industry professionals that allow students to study entrepreneurship as part of their degree. We host internationally acclaimed industry conferences on campus. We have Cyber Week, which is one of the top cybersecurity events in the world. It's a unique gathering of experts, industry leaders, academics, diplomats, and government officials. And we usually have about 9,000 attendees from over 80 countries. We also hosted the Artificial Intelligence Week conference on campus for the first time in 2019. That brought together technology experts to discuss the hottest topics in artificial intelligence. Some noteworthy alumni and achievements from TAU. Just most recently, we built an emergency COVID-19 testing lab that allowed Israel to perform an additional 2,000 corona tests per day. The lab was literally born overnight from the efforts of TAU researchers, graduate students, and management staff from the Sackler Faculty of Medicine and the George S. Wise Faculty of Life Sciences. Our researchers also had a major medical breakthrough when they printed the world's first 3D engineered heart using a patient's own cells and biological materials. I don't know how many of you know that Uri Levine has a BA in economics from TAU, and he co-founded the GPS navigational app Waze, which he subsequently sold to Google in 2013 for a nice cool $1 billion. I'm going to end on this just because it's an important one to mention that student life extends well beyond the classroom, and I want to finish by telling you a little bit about our student life team. They're a team of experienced madrachim. That's a Hebrew word for counselor and guide. Their role is to welcome our international students and make sure they get the best out of their experience on campus and in Israel. They're on campus for support 24/7. They organize all student arrival and orientation days and make sure everyone knows who they are. They assist in housing and medical issues. They also organize and plan events and activities all throughout Israel. They've done student pizza nights to overnight trips to the north and south, to dance lessons and even stand-up comedy nights. More recently, they've taken a great role in being extra attentive to our international students during the pandemic, taking food to their dorms, making sure they're all okay, and organizing fun events on Zoom just to keep life taken over as much as normal as possible. So that's it from me. I'd like to hand over to Professor Colin Price for his keynote address regarding COVID-19 and the climate crisis. There we go. Colin, over to you.
Disable the share screen.
No props.
I can't share my screen. There we go, that's better. Great. So before we start, I'd like you all to go into this site. You can take a picture of the QR bar if you wish, or go into the site below, use your phone. And I'd like to ask a question of what do you think the biggest environmental problem is facing the world today? You can go into this website and you have 3 opportunities to put 3 different answers. And then we'll see this on the survey in a few minutes. In the meantime, while you're filling in your answers, I'll introduce myself. My name is Colin Price. I'm the head of the Department of Environmental Studies in the school of the Porter School of the Environment and Earth Sciences. And my background is, first of all, I was born and bred in South Africa. I've been in Israel for the last 25 years as a faculty member at Tel Aviv University. My background is in geophysics, it's more specifically in atmospheric science to do with the weather, climate, severe weather, and specifically I deal with lightning, thunderstorms, and electricity in the atmosphere. So let's see what you guys have written. Here you can see the survey, which is changing continuously. And climate change is obviously out there in the front. I'll leave this up. I'll leave this actually for open, so you can keep adding if you want as we go on. And we'll come back to this maybe at the end of my talk. But we can see here climate change, food, overpopulation, refugees, industrial resources, economy. You can take your pick here to see what people have been writing here. So we'll see at the end what we have. So let's start with looking at the building where we sit in here at Tel Aviv University. This is the Porter School, and for those who will join us hopefully in the future to study here, this is where we do all of our studies, our research. It's the greenest building in Israel and likely the greenest building in the Middle East. Has the LEED Platinum certification from the United States, and has been designed and built to think of the environment, whether it's saving of energy or saving of water. If we look at some images from inside the building, we can see that it's made out of a lot of glass, allowing a lot of sunlight to come in, giving us a lot of light. We don't have to use too much electricity during the day. This ball we see in the center is our seminar room. So inside we have a seminar room. And the front of the building, what we call the echo wall, is covered with tubing, a special Israeli technology for heating up water. And all this hot water, which is heated during the day, is used for cooling and heating of the building, the air conditioning and heating system. The building's design takes into account the various flows of the air from the Mediterranean. So the entrance of the building points to the Mediterranean, and we basically get the circulation of air naturally in the building. These pipes, as I mentioned, these solar tubing technology, which cover the front of the building and the top, result in the production of hot water during the day, which gets taken to the roof, and we have an absorption chiller, which cools the water, and then cold water flows through the building to cool the air. And we use hot water to warm it during the winter. In the front of the building, we have some 3 pools or 3 areas which simulate wetlands, which can actually purify the gray water of the building, taking the water when you wash your hands or do the dishes and purify it. And then this water is reused for all the vegetation and plants around the building, including our roof garden, which we have on top of the building. And we know from research that having green roofs results in a cooling of the building. The energy from the sun goes into more evaporation than actual heating the building. And it also has some acoustic filter effect, as well as trapping the rainwater. So with that, I'll go into my talk and about the climate crisis and the coronavirus. So we're all locked down in many places of the world today, and over the last 2 months, I think everyone's experienced this crisis we're going through. But there's a lot of things we can learn from this crisis for the future about the climate crisis. And I'd like to talk about 5 similarities to start off between the 2 different crises. The first one is what people talk about, this exponential growth with limited capacity to cope. What does that actually mean? Well, if we look at the number of actual number of cases of coronavirus in China in January, we can see here the different dates in China. The blue line is actually a fitted curve, which is an exponential function. And what we see is with an exponential function, we start out very slowly with the increase. It's difficult to see really any change. And then all of a sudden, we have an explosion in the cases of people with coronavirus who are in hospitals. And the big problem is whether this increase in the sick people overflows the hospital, and we cannot cope with all of these sick people. Well, with climate change, we have exactly the same issue. If we look at this plot, this is actually the rise in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, the brown curve or orange curve, the emissions until more or less today, and the blue dotted curve is an exponential function, which is showing here a 1.65% per year growth in the carbon emissions, the carbon dioxide emissions. So we're also going up very fast with our emissions. We haven't reached the top. In many countries, they've actually reached and passed the top of the corona casualties and the number of people who are sick, and they're on the way down. With the climate crisis, we're on the way up, but also exponentially. The second point I want you to realize is that if we wait until we see the impact of both crises, it's too late to stop it. And if we look at the number of sick people which occurred in countries that waited and said, let's wait, it's not really a problem, let's see if it's really going to take effect. Countries like Italy, the UK, United States, we're seeing this in Brazil, Mexico today. When you get this huge wave of people who are infected by the COVID-19, it's too late. Your hospitals are overwhelmed, you can't deal with it, you have to choose between people who get the ventilators, and it's difficult to stop this huge wave. With climate change, again, we have something similar. If we want to compare this, one of the predictions of climate change is the rise of sea level around the globe. And here we can see what will happen in Egypt, next door to Israel, if we have a 1 meter rise in sea level. The blue areas will be underwater, including Alexandria, Port Said, and 6.1 million people will have to leave their homes, find new places to live, new jobs, resulting in climate refugees. And if we wait until we see this happening, it's too late. It's very difficult to go back to the coastlines of today once we see a 1 meter sea level rise. We first have to cool the climate, We have to evaporate that water. We have to produce snow and ice sheets on the continents. And this can take tens of thousands of years. So if we wait to see the impact of climate change, it's going to be too late. This is also related to the third point, which is similar, in that the urgency of swift action, that it's extremely urgent to act now on climate change. And we saw this also with the COVID crisis. Here we can see the cumulative number of cases of sick people from different countries. And this is taken from the day when they had the 100th case. So they're all kind of normalized. And we can see it Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, where they realized there was an urgency, took action, and they have a lot less people which got sick over time. When you look at other countries like Italy, Iran, United States, they waited to see what was going to happen, and things got out of hand very quickly. They didn't realize the urgency of the matter. Well, when we talk about climate change, we can see the predictions of temperature for the future. We're somewhere around about here. And depending on what we do today, how urgent we take this problem, we can either land up here with around about a 1 degree warming by the end of the century, or a 4 degree warming by the end of the century. If we wait and see, and wait to see if it's real climate change and the problems, it's likely we're going to be 4 degrees above 2000 in 100 years. And I'll just point out that in the last ice age, 20,000 years ago, when the whole of Canada was under ice, New York City was under 2 kilometers of ice, it was about 4 degrees cooler globally. And we're going in the opposite direction, 4 degrees warmer in 100 years. The fourth point is the health issue. Obviously, the corona crisis is a health issue. We're talking about a virus which is killing people, but not many people talk about climate change as a health issue. But it definitely is a health issue. If we're talking about rising temperatures, more extreme weather, increasing sea level, increasing CO2, all of these are going to impact air pollution, changes in vector-borne diseases, allergies, quality of water, etc. And all of these have impacts on the public health. And so maybe even more so, climate change is a public health issue. Maybe we need to focus more on the public health issue, since the public seems to relate to this a lot better. The fifth point of this fifth similarity is that we need to make short-term sacrifices for the long-term benefits. We all sitting at home, we were locked down, aircraft companies have gone broke, people have lost their jobs. We had to make sacrifices on the short term in order to have long-term benefits for society, to save the elderly so that they wouldn't get sick. And this is the same with climate change. We need to make short-term, we're going to have to suffer a little bit in the short term for the long-term gain. And this means we may need to pay more for polluting fossil fuels when we use them in our cars, or we need more sustainable agriculture, which may cost more in the beginning, but this is going to have long-term benefits for our children, our grandchildren, and their children. Let's talk about the differences now. Well, 5 differences. So the first, the danger actually from these two crises are very different. Obviously from the corona crisis, we're talking about a virus, and this is resulting in various health issues, but it's only a virus. There's nothing else which is actually the danger to us. And this virus is overwhelming our healthcare systems, but we know it's only one thing which is actually the problem. With the climate crisis, there are many dangers. We're talking about the growth of greenhouse gases overwhelming our ability to manage natural disasters, sea level rise, climate refugees, ocean acidification, and many more. And so there are many more dangers which await us in the future if we don't take care of the climate crisis at the moment. The second difference is that the threat from the coronavirus is immediate and personal. We can see it happening today. People are dying. We maybe even know people who got the coronavirus who are sick. With the climate crisis, it's kind of slow. It happens over many years. And sometimes it's impersonal. People think it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen in my town. Maybe it'll happen to another country. And so often the climate crisis is impersonal. Another difference is that the causes of the coronavirus are very well defined. We know exactly what's causing it. We know what the virus is. We know what it looks like. We know its name. We don't have a cure for it, but we know what's causing the problem. With the climate crisis, the causes are somewhat diffuse. Is it the energy sector which is causing the problem? Is it the agricultural sector? Is it the industry? Who's actually to blame for the rise in greenhouse gases. The fourth point of differences is that the corona crisis is a present threat. We see it happening today, but the effects must probably be short term. In another 5-10 years, the economy is going to bounce back. We won't have noticed that there's actually been this crisis in 2020. But for the climate crisis, this is a future threat, which is coming in the future. It's not here today. Maybe it is already here, but it's going to get worse in the future. And it likely has very large long-term effects. I showed the example of the sea level rise. And the final point of the differences is that the changes are occurring with the coronavirus on days to weeks. We see the number of people dying going up, and then we see them going down. It's happening in real time, more or less, whereas the climate crisis is occurring over years to decades, and less so, and we don't see this happening very dramatically. So what can we learn? What's the take-home message from the corona crisis? The first thing is listen to the scientists. If we listen to the scientists, the doctors related to the corona crisis, the countries which took care and listened to what the professionals said were the ones that came out best. The same with the climate crisis. We don't know everything, the climate scientists, there's a lot of uncertainty, but we know the best of what can happen in the future and the various scenarios for the future. And therefore, listen to the scientists, because you'll be able to deal with the problem much better then. The second take-home message is we need really to understand this exponential growth, to really understand the urgency of the climate crisis. We're here again on the way up with the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. There's been no slowdown in the last decade, and it keeps on going up. We don't know when we're going to reach this maximum and have a turn down. And so we really need to think of what happened with the corona crisis, with the exponential growth, and convert this to the urgency of the climate crisis. Everyone needs to understand the cost of the actions imposed on the global village. Some guy in a Chinese market ate some animal which had a virus in it. Within 2 months, the world shut down. The whole world was impacted by the one guy in China. And with the same with climate change, people who are chopping down the forests in the Amazon, or affecting the oceans in another part of the planet, or burning fossil fuel somewhere else, it's affecting all of us. And we're all in this together in the global village. We've also learned from Corona that the role of governments is crucial to deal with such crises. We can't rely on companies alone and the public to take action. We need to force them to do it. If we would have believed, if 6 months ago someone would have asked you if you would have been able to keep the whole population of the world shut down at home and force people to wear masks when they go in the street, people would have thought you were crazy. But when you get a fine for going out in the street without a mask, people put on a mask. And when governments tell you you can't go to school, you can't fly, people listen. So governments are crucial, and governments working together to deal with the climate crisis. In addition, the corona crisis showed us how the world can really come together if we work together. This is really a global effort to deal with the corona crisis, and governments are helping each other with information, with equipment. And this is a real, true, maybe optimistic example of how we can all work together to solve a crisis when we see it. Another key point to take home is that we have a huge opportunity here. We have many people unemployed today around the world. We've got companies which have gone broke. And in order to restart our economies after this corona crisis, we have a huge opportunity here to stimulate funding, jobs, investment in low carbon technologies like clean power, battery storage, public transportation, to provide a better, more resilient future for our children and grandchildren, and hopefully to prevent the next global crisis. And to end, I'd like to just show this quote, which I like, from Benjamin Franklin, which says, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." This is so true, and every study on climate change and any crisis management shows that if we try to invest today to prevent the crisis, we'll save, for every dollar we spend today, we'll save $10 in the future. So I'm going to end with this cartoon, which isn't that funny, but it basically which shows here that everyone's focusing on these two curves here of the coronavirus in different countries and the problem, and they'll be happy when it's over. But when we turn around, there's this huge wave coming from climate change that we need to take care of today. So let's see what this final poll shows us here. I think, again, I suppose this is biased by the title of the presentation and the event today, climate change, so everyone has that on their minds. But we can see some of the other ideas here: overpopulation, waste, temperatures, consumerism, acidification. All of these are correct, but I agree with the poll here that I think that the biggest environmental problem facing the world today is climate change. So I'll thank you there. I'm not going to take questions because we don't have much time. Maybe at the end if there are questions, but you're also welcome to send emails with questions to us, and I'll happily answer via email. So I'd like to introduce now Professor Benayahu. Hudi Benayahu is the head of the program of head of the master's program. I'll stop sharing my screen, and Hudi, you can share your screen.
Thank you, Colin. Here we go. Hello, everybody. First of all, Colin, thank you very much for your exciting talk. For me, it's the first time hearing that. Yes, I am the head of the International M.A. program in environmental studies at Tel Aviv University. I am myself a professor of zoology, actually of marine biology. And for the last 48 years, since I started my studies, I am an active diver, and my focus is coral reefs. I believe that coral reefs are the best mirror of the environment on the globe, despite the fact that they are covering just a fraction of a % of the oceans. You know, they have excellent public relationship, and their well-being is extremely important to all of us, but they also reflect the environmental crisis that we are facing, primarily because of global change. But this topic deserves another forum, another opportunity. I will be very glad to contribute. So I would like to tell you about the program, and maybe to start answering a simple question. Why to travel all the way to Israel, to this small country, and to learn about the environment? And the question, to my eyes, is very simple. Israel providing an amazing, compact, and very diverse ecosystem. We have snow on the mountains in the north, and we have extreme desert in the south with almost no rainfall. We have a fantastic coastline along the Mediterranean, and then we have the Red Sea in Eilat, which is tropical. We have the unique Afro-Syrian rift system with the Dead Sea in the middle. So what else you can ask? Especially when the distances are so small, you can travel and pass different ecosystems, different environments, and on the top of it, the development that occurred in this small piece of land during the last 120 years, and especially after the independence of the State of Israel 72 years ago, it's unbelievable, with amazing achievements that I won't go into further details now. So our approach in this program is to provide the students a multidisciplinary vision on environmental challenges. So our courses actually cover most disciplines that you can envision. It's a very intense program of 3 semesters, 1 year, including the summer semester. The Israeli students in the regular programs, they study only 2 semesters. In our program, we study intensively 3 semesters. And who are the participants? Throughout the years, we have witnessed a very diverse group of students, actually coming from all continents, from all 5 continents, from different countries. This year, we have 16 students from 8 countries, and we expect to have more students next year. We have a very special internship program. I will mention it during my talk. And we offer an optional thesis year, which requires on the top of academic achievements, an extra year just after graduating the normal MA program. Well, what are the applications requirements? So first of all, you should have an approved BA or BSc in any field, just to reflect the diversity and the interdisciplinarity of our program. The GPA should be at least 3 on a 4 scale or 80 on a scale of 100. Application deadline has been extended this year to the end of July this year. Now, a bit on the cost and funding. This year, the tuition fees is lower than used to be in the past, and it's $10,500 US. And the tuition fees for Israeli citizens who are willing to, to practice their English background, education, or whatever, or to experience an international, student community, is a bit less. We offer different scholarship, and we encourage the students to apply for different resources in order to assist in the cost involved in their studies and stay in Israel. Now, briefly about the different courses that we offer in our curriculum. We have what we call introductory courses. They are normally during the first semester. We have core courses, seminars, and then advanced courses that actually are elective courses. The core courses provide an in-depth knowledge, which we consider very important to every student who is willing, to advance his knowledge in environmental studies. These include policy, global warming, energy building and city, marine systems over the Mediterranean, and others. Once you establish your, core knowledge based on the courses, you should take advanced courses like water policy, urban sustainability, urban education, and more. By the way, we try to diversify the courses from year to year and add new electives. What is very important to us is to expose the students, to expose the students to the field, to the environment, and therefore many of our classes are actually part of the syllabus includes field experience. We have a research seminar and a final project. The final project actually exposes you to different experience and very diverse one, like methodology or specific topics which the students choose as their own final project in a specific field, and we actually accompany the project with designated supervisors. In total, and this is a requirement across the country in Israel, you have to earn like 38 credit points in order to finalize all your duties for the degrees. Now a bit about the internship program. We offer a 4 months position in various Israel leading environmental organizations. We establish for the students, the contacts. Sometimes students with initiatives who are proactive, they come up with ideas to whom to apply in order to spend the internship. And I mean, the topics that you can cover are actually reflecting your own interest. Our program is led by 5 Tel Aviv University professors, and each student is receiving academic guidance, actually mentoring from one of our committee members. The committee itself is comprised of members representing different disciplines. So if, for example, your interest is ecology or biodiversity, or specifically coral reefs, I would be glad to guide you. And we have, of course, other advisors coming, representing other expertise. I mentioned the thesis track. It's optional, and it's only, well, it's designated for excellent students, the best of the best. This is an extra year of studies, 3 semesters, so the whole package should take 2 years. You should, if you decide to go for thesis track, you have to take into account that this year should be a continuation to the first year in the MA program. So far, I think that we have 5 graduates in this thesis track, which we consider highly prestigious. We have noticed that our students, I mean, they are actually looking for opportunities for the future. I mean, if it's not academics, you are looking for a position, for a job. And we have noticed, according to our 10 years of experience, 9 years of experience, that our students actually can apply and successfully obtain positions in companies, in different startups who are involved in environmental issues, either in Israel or internationally, whether they are governmental or non-governmental organizations. And you can see here a few examples where the students, find their future career, and this is based on our, monitoring, because it's very important for us, and I'm pretty sure that it's important for those who are participating in our program to be very practical and to be target-oriented. And therefore, we are helping everybody in person in order to achieve her or his personal goal and future vision. I think that I have finished my part, and now we are proceeding to hear some views and experience of our present and past students. Thank you very much.
So maybe I should start.
Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Daniela. I'm from Guatemala originally, and I moved to Israel about 8 years ago. And I want to share shortly why I got to this master's. My grandfather founded a textile company in 1956. And 6 years ago, we started a new project. It's the New Denim Project, and we started recycling the textiles. And this is how I started getting more information and a closer connection to how we use our natural resources, and a closer connection to the environment, and how sustainability and the circularity can help. And I had a regular marketing job in Israel in a high-tech company. And it was either I went towards this path and started growing in the high-tech company, or I shifted to something that I'm really passionate about and that really makes a difference. So I started searching for master's opportunities, and I found something that was very specific to fashion, and it was sustainability in fashion and creative industries in Berlin. And then I started doubting if I should go or not. And I started looking for opportunities in Israel as well, and I bumped into this program. And for some reason, I decided to stay. And I am really glad to say that it has completely overpassed my expectations. And I was a bit afraid that it was going to be a very broad program. But actually, I learned the importance of it, that everything is connected. And if we want to focus on something, we have to understand every other industry or every other sector. And in order to make a difference in the fashion industry, you need to know exactly what's going on with climate change, what that means, not just this term that we know that is very abstract, or about environmental law, environmental policy. These are all lessons that we have in the program. And it's given me so many tools that actually also throughout these semesters, the lessons and the lectures are all synchronized. So if we are talking about a certain topic in environmental policy, we are also talking about it in our class of transboundary water systems. So I believe this is also amazing. And we've had so many lectures that are truly mind-blowing. And what I think after that is like, I wish everyone could learn this. And this is something that should be taught in schools, and that we should teach to the next generations and to the children right now. And I think it's a privilege what we've been given in this master's program, because we've been given the tools to not only apply this in a job, in a future job, and get great opportunities, but also to pass on this information and to take care of our planet. So, and the lecturers are all amazing, and there's a very close relationship also. They are all very open to help, and they really just want you to understand. And that's also a privilege, because it's a very intimate class. And yeah, if anybody has any other questions, you're welcome to contact me.
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yair, you are welcome.
Hi, Hudi. For me, it was a different experience. I'm originally from Mexico. That's where I did my undergrad studies. And I come from an engineering background. And I've always been interested in sustainability and also in research. So my general idea was always to end up in research. But the way I see it was that gave me the skills, mathematical and computational skills. And my next degree, I wanted to understand how or where I could apply those skills. So that's what I was looking for in this degree. And as Daniela mentioned, this gives you an idea of how everything is connected. It's not if you want it, you can specify, well, you have to be very specific in your project, for example, but you get an overall sense of what the environmental issues we're dealing with are. And I guess you could say that now, sorry, I didn't say where I'm at now. I'm doing a PhD. And for this PhD, what I'm doing is putting in practice the skills that I learned in my undergrad on the fields that I learned during my master's. I'm currently working in water infrastructure. And as long as you're proactive, you can find a niche during this master's program. So I worked with Professor Goulden, and we worked on a project on the history of water urban sensitive design in Mexico City. And I was able to apply. It wasn't as engineering oriented wise. However, I was able to apply what I was learning there to my own hometown. And for me, that's really important, and that just shows you how you can end up putting in practice all these tools. The other thing for me was that the electives, Yael was very nice. The former, I think she's in maternity leave, but she was very nice and she accommodated for me, and she was able to find a course in water treatment engineering, which I had no experience in whatsoever before, but I was able to explore that opportunity again. And going back to the reasons that I wanted to do this program, I guess it was the water management, the expertise in Israel. We know that it's a very water limited country, but nevertheless they've been thriving. And as one of the professors in the classes said, was that when you're in Israel, you don't really feel but like there's water scarcity because of all the technology that has been put in place. And that just proves to me the ingenuity that there's in Israeli engineering. And again, that's just my general overview. And I would be happy to answer any other questions. And again, this prepared me to, even though I didn't do the research program, the second part of the program, and we had I think it was a statistics course on how to, for research methods. And I'm still using that today in my PhD program.
Thank you, and good luck with your PhD.
Thank you.
I think that now we'll move to Sidak, who spent in Israel more than 2 years, and he finalized his thesis with us.
Thank you, Hudi. My name is Sidak Singh. I come from Punjab in India. And I also had the mix of the experiences that Yair and Daniela mentioned. Why did I choose this program? Actually, I honestly, I just was interested in I was working with farmers in India, and I wanted to do something with environment. And somehow I got into this program, and I wasn't really sure what exactly it was about. But now that I see it, I've learned so much from this program. It's hard to put it into words. As she mentioned, there's a lot of macro view we get to see from this program, because you see the interlinking of different issues that we see and how that actually happens. Because usually my background is mechanical engineering. So usually we sit in, closed cubicles and just trying to figure out a certain problem. We don't realize the macro connection that has the issues that come out of these kind of building problems into the whole world. These were introduced to me through this course. And what I also liked about the program was it was very well balanced. Every week we had time to grasp what we learned and also to explore the opportunities around us. And what also comes part of the package, and I don't know if anybody mentioned, is the Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is one of the most dynamic cities, and with the international students which come in your program and also in other programs, and the amazing amount of international student, people all over Israel is super interesting. This gives you a chance to, get various perspectives on each of the problems you deal with. And every week I used to go to, the numerous seminars or workshops or conference, sometimes related to environment, sometimes related to what I want to do. And this mix was really, useful for me to build this, I would say, understanding of environment. And the second, another thing that, I spent almost more than 2 years, as Hudi mentioned, because I took up the thesis program, and that has really, I would say, upskilled me into understanding research and how things are done in a, scientific manner. I had never any thought of I would be doing a research program, but Dr. Alex Goldberg offered me this chance to develop biofuels. And I had no background for biofuels, but I did mechanical engineering, so I could combine that with chemical engineering, biology, and by the end of it, I knew how to make biofuels from algae and waste from meat industry. So I think that's amazing. And what I'm doing with it now is I haven't shared with this thing with anyone before, that I'm going to be teaching and managing sustainability projects for MBA students in the management school in India. So I think I would be getting the chance to share the sustainability mindset and learning I learned in Israel and bring it back to India. I think that's like one of the biggest fulfillments from this program. So if anybody has any specific questions, you can definitely contact me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess I'll go ahead. My name is Maya, and I finished the program in, I think, 2016, 2017. I don't exactly remember. Hi, Hudi. I'll build on other things that people mentioned here. I work at EY, Ernst & Young, the global consulting firm in Israel, and I'm part of the climate change and sustainability team. We consult all of, not all, but many very big Israeli companies on topics of sustainability, carbon footprint, legislation. We're working pretty much across all of the aspects that you could say touch on sustainability and business. And the reason that I work at EY is really thanks to Porter. Like, there's really no other way that I can put it, because I did both the business concentration program that Hudi mentioned, and I did an internship, and I actually found my internship through the business concentration because I became close with one of the professors and discovered this whole field of business and sustainability and corporate social responsibility through her. It was actually, you know, something that I knew that interests me, but then she was really the one to, you know, give the theoretical background and a lot of case studies, and even in that way, it was a lot like a business school kind of program courses, because there was a lot of that critical thinking case studies, which is also part of any consulting job, or, you know, those kind of how do you get into consulting, or at any of the big four or major consulting firms. And so she introduced me to someone who I ended up interning for, and then through my internship was actually I mean, they literally told me at Ernst & Young, oh, we work with this person all the time, so of course, if you're recommended by them and you worked with them, then we want to have you on the team. So in that way, Porter is probably, you know, just super practical, and for me at least, because it's helped me get into this career path, and I love it. You know, it's really like every day waking up feeling like I'm doing something that makes sense and for the world and has meaning. And I think that brings me to another point about the coursework in Porter, which is really diverse. And some people say, oh, maybe it's too diverse, but I think that's really the strong point of Porter. It's not focused on one topic. It gets you a very wide range, but also detailed across a bunch of different topics. If it's, you know, what I became interested in, like corporate social responsibility, or what Silak was mentioning, you know, which is a more scientific route, or, you know, everyone kind of chooses, I think, within Porter where they want to go. And that's really the great part about it, is that it really opens up your perspective. And, you know, even though I'm doing kind of Excel spreadsheets and these kind of things, stuff that I learned in the biodiversity class or in Colin's course, you know, these things are useful because it's information that, you know, it feeds into like how professional and in-depth of a discussion you're able to have. If it's with, you know, in your professional life, or even if you're kind of an activist kind of person, you know, it really is important to have all of the facts and all of the picture around it. And I think the last thing I'll say is that, you know, I also really like the local perspective. That I live in Israel. I've lived here for the past decade now, and you know, Israel, it's especially as someone that's working with, you know, companies and government ministries, I can tell you that Israel's really developing on the environment topic, and so it's a really interesting space to be able to learn about the local context. And, you know, through like Udi's class, I learned about a lot of issues that have become, you know, for me personally important, but also, you know, just it's great information to have, and that a majority of Israelis don't actually know. You know, things about the marine environment, and that's just an example. But yeah, and I think that also the social aspect of it is really nice. I've stayed in touch with a lot of my friends. Some have stayed in Israel, some went back. I've been in touch with people on a professional level as well, and making partnerships, finding clients for UI, or helping like students that I used to study with that were studying with me to kind of get opportunities through UI. So it's really, really great. And yeah, that's pretty much my take on it.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you all. We miss you. We really miss you.
Me too.
Wonderful. Okay, so I think we're now going to head into the Q&A session. I've seen lots of people have submitted questions through the Q&A function and also through the chat. So we have, I think, about 5 or 10 minutes or so to go through some of those questions. Lee, do you want to start us off with some of the questions to feed to Hudi?
Yes. Yes, I've elected some of the questions. Sorry, we won't be able to answer all, but we will be in contact afterwards. So Levi asks, is the curriculum structured in a more humanities-like manner or a STEM-like manner?
Well, it's more or less balanced. Well, it's more towards soft science, but we try, and I would say successfully, to provide also some more quantitative background to the students. Yes.
Okay, next question. Emily asked if master students can take classes across programs.
Yes, one elective can be taken from any other, academic unit in the university, whether it's an international program or a regular TAU program. Well, you should know the language, which is either Hebrew, or some of the classes are given even for the regular Tel Aviv University students in English. If you have no language barriers, it's fine, you can take it as an elective.
Okay, Nikita asks, do we provide PhD degrees as well?
Well, the program does not provide PhD degree. PhD is actually a university degree. It's not a department degree. But after having a thesis, you can apply for a PhD program, and you are welcome. I mean, any candidate is welcome to apply to Tel Aviv University for his or her PhD.
Okay. Rachel asks, and maybe this one can be answered by our former students, is this program doable alongside a full-time job?
Well, let me let me try and answer this complicated question. Well, I mean, we have classes. I mean, attendance in classes is mandatory. So if you can manage your life and juggle between, university requirements, whether they are physical or, homework, all kind of assignment, and work, it's fine.
Okay. Also, Sarah is asking about the internship program. Is it done during the master's program or after the program?
During the program.
Any of the students
Okay.
want to say something about working at the same time? Would it be possible?
I
Then-
personally don't think so. Not full time, but part-time. Part-time is possible, but full-time, I think, maybe not.
Well, may I add a short comment? I mean, as a foreign student, not being an Israeli holding passport or ID, I don't think that you can work. You should have an Israeli ID.
That's true.
Yes, that's true.
I had a part-time job, but yeah, there are some classes in the evenings, and it's pretty much full day.
Amazing.
Lee, any last question, Lee?
No, I don't see anything. Just a second.
I do want to add something that you can't work full time, but the program is only 1 year, which is, I mean, if you want to extend and do a thesis, it's 2, but the master's program is 1 year. So that's also something to keep in mind.
And it's 3 semesters, including the summer, unlike other regular, university programs.
Okay. So no more questions, Lee. That's
Yeah, those are the
Okay.
most, yes.
okay. Just a few minutes over schedule. So just wanted to, we'll end by thanking, first of all of our panel, everyone for attending on this webinar. And I just wanted to say that we're recording this webinar, and we're going to send it out to everyone who registered. So don't worry if you missed the beginning or you missed a section. We'll be sending it out by email to everyone, probably on Sunday or possibly on Monday of next week. The email will have Lee's contact details as well. So if anybody does have specific more questions related to the program, then they can ask Lee. And thank you to everyone who tuned in to watch this webinar. I hope it was informative. I hope you got a lot from it, and we hope to see you come and hear this idea at TAU in the fall. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you, everyone. And thank you also to our alumni and students for giving up their time to participate. It's very appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to seeing all of you in Tel Aviv. You're all welcome.
You'll love it here.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.